I would like to bring this meeting of the school committee to order. Welcome everybody who's here, and welcome our viewers on television. And please join me for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would like you all to join with me in a moment of silence to honor the life of Gail Dexter. Gail passed away on September 26th. She was with us for 36 years, working as a grade 6 classroom teacher at Indian Brook and at PCIS. So please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. And of course, our hearts and our prayers go out to all of the families who are suffering from the atrocities in Las Vegas, and I hope we all remember them in our prayers as well. At this point, I would like to ask, is there anybody attending tonight's meeting who would like to speak to the committee who isn't already on the agenda? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands, so I'm going to move on to the next agenda item, which is representatives from Plymouth South this evening, right, Isabel? Mm-hmm. Please, thank you.
Good evening. I'd like to open by noting that my new school, Plymouth South High School, was featured in the Boston Globe South as a model comprehensive high school last Saturday. The article focused on how the new building allows for more opportunities for students in tech as well as academics. I'd also like to thank Ms. Fry and Mr. Costin for hosting an appreciation lunch in culinary arts for all those involved in the move to the new building. Custodial staff and specific teachers were recognized as Chef Levy and his team put on a great spread to say thank you. Students in Ms. Conroy's classes planted many native trees and plants thanks to a generous donation by Tide Marsh Farms last Thursday. It's a natural habitat which is a native grow zone to connect Plymouth South High School and Plymouth South Middle School. And our open house will be Thursday, starting at 7 p.m. Parents will have the opportunity to follow their student schedule, visiting all 5 classes. Demolition of the old school is well underway. It's close to 60% done, and the access road paving is to begin very soon. The demolition is expected to be complete by November. And our 2017 college fair will be held at North High School on October 17th. Plymouth South is also hosting a college admissions representatives who will spend time with students in the Black Box Theater during K-Block starting this Wednesday. The goal is to expose students to as many different colleges and as well as technical careers and opportunities as possible. And speaking of tech, our cosmetology seniors were treated to various salon tours last week by salon owners in the local areas. These students were exposed to how the industry works, and many PSHS alumni were seen working at these cosmetology centers. Our Pride members and advisors attended the MARC anti-bullying workshop at Bridgewater State University. We are looking forward to the students sharing some of the information they learned with our staff later in the year. And our boys and girls soccer teams have had hard battles with Plymouth North last week, both ending in ties. We played games well by both teams, and we play again on Monday, Columbus Day at South. The marching band also performed last week at Fenway Park, and they performed the national anthem just prior to the start of the Red Sox-Blue Jays game, and the performance was outstanding as usual. South Avenue also performed Friday night at the VPA's a cappella night at North High School. Students represented themselves very well, and it shows how much hard work that they have been putting in so far this year. I'd also like to note that Pep Rally is October 12th, the homecoming game is October 13th, and the homecoming dance follows on October 14th, and tickets are on sale this week for $10.
Isabella, thank you for that comprehensive report. Thank you very much. We don't have a report from the other high schools. We'll go on to old business. Is there old business items to be referenced here this evening? Okay. Moving to the next item, which is new business. We have new business items to bring up. Okay, moving along. Superintendent's report. Dr. Maestas.
Yes, good evening. I have a few items to report this evening. Just a reminder for school committee, tomorrow morning we have a walkthrough at Plymouth South Elementary School, and that begins at 8:45. Taping will begin at 9. and it should be a very nice morning for you to walk through the building. At South Elementary last week, we actually had the benefit of attending a ribbon cutting of the new field, and it was spectacular. What a great day. It was beautiful weather, and it was just great to see kids on that field running around, and they were just so excited to be on that field. Every single kid that came anywhere near any of us, I know there are a number of school committee members there, they just wanted to say thank you, thank you, thank you. And I said, well, you got to thank, there's a lot of people here to thank for actually making that come true, but very polite. The event was emceed by 2 students, and it was just well done. So congratulations to them, to the students and staff, and actually South Plymouth community for this benchmark moment for South Elementary.
Especially for that kid who threw out the first ball.
Yes,
Think about it.
yes, amazing, amazing.
Lucky,
But Mr. Begley had sent a message to Principal Blaisdell last week, and he said to him, "Thank you for your dedication," something of that nature. But there were a lot of different groups that had come before that really wanted to get a field on that location, and it takes a lot of effort. It takes diligence, and it really helps when you have a community partner like the Makepeace Corporation to actually come forward and do something. So, if you haven't had a chance to see that field, it's spectacular. So, just congratulations to everybody, and thank you so much for the Makepeace Corporation for making that come true. Another calendar item for the school committee: Wednesday, October 11th, we will be doing the taping of the walkthrough at Hedge Elementary. That's Wednesday, October 11th. Federal Furnace is January 11th, and Manamet Elementary is on March 6th. All right, so those are the times. Hold on, Nancy's going to correct me.
No, I'm going to add, you had
Okay.
asked me for the date for the hedge.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Ceremony, and that will be Tuesday, October 17th at 11 a.m.
So we have a lot of ribbon cuttings around here. And so we have the Hedge Elementary playground is done, and kids are going to be playing on that back playground. If you haven't seen that, it's another sight to see. And that date again was, Nance?
Tuesday, October 17th at 11 a.m.
October 17th, 11 a.m.
Bit of time.
And, yeah, Margie doesn't like early meetings. I don't know if anybody knows that yet, but you do today. So I did send the school committee an email last week regarding a very positive note in the district. Dr. Campbell, Mr. Halpin, and actually somebody from the district attorney's office helped us to write a grant. And the district is the recipient of the Drug-Free Communities Grant, which is very competitive. It's a national grant. Plymouth received a grant of $125,000 for the next 4 years, which is a significant grant, and it'll really help with our mission of Plymouth Youth Development.
125 per year.
125 per year
Yeah,
times
not over
4.
4 years.
Yeah, it's 125. It's a $500,000 grant. So we're very fortunate. And
Yeah, we're
Dr. Campbell should, he doesn't like to take a lot of credit for stuff, but his diligence on this, when you write a federal grant and you get knocked down a couple times, you kind of don't want to get back up. But Dr. Campbell's got grit, as they say. All right?
Yeah, I'm going to.
We want him to take off his shirt.
That would be a sight, yes. And then, sorry, Chris. And then, I wasn't laughing.
All right, continue.
And then, just this evening, we had the ribbon cutting over at South High School for the Southern Mass Credit Union. And, to show the commitment of an organization to open a credit union at North High School and then come back 5 years later and do it again at Plymouth South High School, I think it shows a real commitment from a community organization to come together and say, we want to make a commitment to the school system. They did. It's a significant expense for them to install a financial institution in a school, from the architecture, design, all the way to the custom build of the cabinets and everything, the ATM machine. All that is funded through the credit union. So when you
And
look at
staffing it.
And staffing it.
Yeah.
And Margie, you know, that's, you know, you've worked in the bank, you know, there's a commitment there. Banks don't do this. So I just want to congratulate the school district and primarily the credit union for entering into another partnership with us. And we are going to be working on enhancing that opportunity for kids to be more involved. And our administrators were there this evening just highlighting some of the benefits of this partnership. So I just want to report that we've had a great start of the school year, a lot of celebration on a lot of hard work from a lot of people in this community to enhance our system. With that said, Dr. Sorensen, I'm going to turn it back to you.
That's a great report, a lot of positives, that's fantastic, we need those. Okay. Retirements, Ms. Fry.
Yes, we have 3 retirements to share tonight. Donna Correa from West Elementary School, who's been 30 years a grade 3 classroom teacher. Mary Mello, who's the director of our preschool for 13 years, will be retiring in January. And Harriet Kelly, who's a para-educator who was at Cold Spring for 24 years.
Ms. Hunt.
On behalf of the Plymouth School Committee, I'd like to thank these individuals for their service and congratulate Donna Correa for 30 years, Mary Mello for 13 years, and Harriet Kelly for 24 years of service to Plymouth Public Schools.
Well said, thank you, thank you. Correspondence, Mr. Morgan.
Yes, there's one piece of correspondence tonight. A thank you letter from the South Shore Community Action Council to Visual and Performing Arts Coordinator Michael Capel that included a very generous donation of $1,000 in recognition of the VPA department contributions to the students of the Plymouth community.
Okay, thank you. Our first item with participation is the school council. Dr. Maestas.
Yes, tonight we have the Plymouth South High School School Council to present their school improvement plan. This is a large group, and they are here and anxious, and I'm not sure what Principal Hannah promised them, but they showed up, so welcome.
He's competing with Mr. Palladino.
Come on up. I don't mind. You have enough? Good. That's a good question. Come on up. Test, test. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you. Obviously, we brought a portion of our Plymouth South family with us here this evening, and I can't thank everybody enough for taking the time out of their busy schedules. So this evening, we are going to present our school improvement plan that we have decided that this would be our new 2-year plan, but we're also going to give you an update on our previous 2-year plan that was from 2015 through 2017. So before we begin, I'm just going to pass the microphone around or use the microphones here and have everybody introduce themselves. So I'm going to start in the back and pass this over here.
Hi, I'm Julie Osberg. I am a social studies teacher at Plymouth South High School.
Brian Nolan, parent of a sophomore at Plymouth South High School.
Melissa Matinsey, parent of a junior at Plymouth South High School.
Cindy Sylvia, technical director, both schools, Plymouth South and North.
Darren Frazzetti, math teacher at Plymouth South High School.
Sorry. Speaker, vocational supervisor.
Sorry, put you back there.
Brittany Geddes, math teacher at Plymouth South High School.
Tony Salamone, senior at Plymouth South High School.
Callie Kazorik, junior at Plymouth South High School.
Julianne Morse, sophomore at Plymouth South High School.
Great. Thank you, everybody, again, for being here this evening. So we would like to start off tonight just by a quick review of our school improvement plan status. And I'd like to highlight, thanks to the work of our administrators that are here with us tonight. Obviously, they're back here in the crowd, but they're certainly of such a valuable part of our school to attain these goals. Our 2015-2017 improvement plan focused on a few different items. So this evening, we will share the attainment of those goals. We'll share our goals for the future, which obviously determined that our new meeting just took place last week, so we're right, fresh start, and obviously a fresh start for me. But the foundation's been laid, and you certainly know that about our school and our culture and our climate and the belief that we have around student and staff voice. So we're very confident that those things will come to, our goals will be met, I should say, very soon. The NEASC and strategic plan alignment with a follow-up report from 2017 is just recently sent off. Happy to report that we only had 2 pieces of action that we needed to address with the NEASC plan. And obviously the first one was the school, which has been taken care of. The second one, we'll be working with Dr. Campbell on a curriculum template that is universal for all departments. Sounds like not too much we need to worry about after that accreditation process, which is fantastic. And then obviously we'll be focusing on our new school improvement plan for 2017-2019. So our school improvement plan of the past, in case this is just a quick review, our 3 goals that were set forth in 2015 were to continue a culture of success. Obviously that met with our transition to the new building, obviously providing more opportunities in our vocational technical programming, and then of course in regards to our advanced placement curriculum development and the rigor that takes place at Plymouth South High School. And then we'll touch about each one of these real quick and some of the things that we've done in a minute. We also focused on enhancing the understanding and involvement of overall wellness, and this is certainly very important, obviously, as Dr. Maestas just mentioned, with the grant that is coming for our Plymouth Public Schools, as well as a program that I'm sure Dr. Campbell's already mentioned with the committee, which is Preventure, and we'll be working with PYDC to bring that to reality at Plymouth South High School. And then, of course, re-engaging the disengaged student. We have some great data to share with you about that. So our next slide is goal 1. Again, going back to the 2015-2017 plan. So the culture of success was obviously the transition to the new building. And I'm just going to have Mr. Baker touch on some of the things that took place in order for us to be where we're at today and where we were able to open up that new building on time.
Good evening. So basically, the moves that were made last year to get South successfully moved was, first of all, to identify what was necessary and unnecessary equipment, what things would be needed, what would be used, what wouldn't be used, and so forth. Things that were either obsolete or being replaced, or things that had been donated in years past that were just collecting dust and all sorts of things were marked for auction. We had an auction house come in that photographed, lotted everything into lots, and they were all put on a auction website. At that point, people could bid. Anyone could bid on it that wanted to go in and register. All that was done online and taken care of by the auction company. And we made provisions for them to come and get that stuff after the close of school. So we had a very busy end of June to July, when pretty much it was a madhouse of people picking up their stuff. But we were able to, when the shops were down, we were able to categorize things and put them into lots and have them so they could have it. And that's pretty much how that worked out, and that's how it is. There you go.
So we were challenged with, obviously, in order to meet budgetary restraints, that we were able to bring a lot of the existing equipment over, and that's been certainly beneficial for us to be able to do such the wonderful other things that we have at that new school. So I applaud many people, including Chris and his team, for making that happen. Through that goal number 1, obviously the professional development that continued to exist, that was offered right at the new school, so we were ready to go. So continuing that culture of success, staff were able to access their classrooms in early July. We had vocational programming, professional development, thanks to Dr. Campbell, that took place. We developed new course of study in HVAC and medical assisting, thanks to our transportation cluster and our construction cluster. We were able to move all of that shop equipment over to the new building, and that DESE model was approved many years ago when Mrs. Fry and I met with the department, and that is up and running. And then obviously we're able to add new staffing for our HVAC and medical assisting programs. Those are, as you know, new programs at Plymouth South High School. And then the new administrative team was in place as of July 1 with the addition of Mrs. Sylvia in my role as the vocational technical director. Our next goal that we hit in our 2015, 2016, as well as into 2017, was enhance student understanding of involvement in their overall wellness. Very important. So there was many things that took place at the high school to try to address this. And we were very fortunate because this wasn't just limited to drug awareness, but also communication with our students about health and social media safety, as well as, of course, the overall use of alcohol, tobacco, drugs, etc. So I'm just going to have the students here this evening touch a little bit about some of the things that took place at the high school that they experienced and how maybe it opened their eyes to a couple of these things in wellness. So I'll start with Tony.
The presentation by Chris Heron gave the students the opportunity to see that the power of drug affects even people in the highest of careers. Chris Heron's position on the Celtics team shows that he could be affected by drugs, although he was in a higher position.
Not only with the Chris Heron presentation, but in our health classes, we learned a lot about drug awareness, which actually helped a student like me save someone who had overdosed on heroin.
I had the pleasure of helping with the HPOP job fair, and this helps students get hired in many jobs in the area, and it also helps students feel less intimidated, or feel like it was less intimidating to be in an environment they were comfortable in.
Very good, thank you. And the work that PEYDC has done in order to help out our schools in many different areas, that job fair was just certainly one of them. But in my new role, I've had the fortunate opportunity to sit on that committee that meets at Beth Israel, and I'm looking forward to attaining those resources and learning more information and bringing that information into the schools for our kids. Listed here are also some other things that did take place at the high school. We were very fortunate to have a lot of different things that were set up through the district, through central office, for parents as well as our students, and a lot of those things are listed here. And I think it's made a difference for us overall because we do have students that are coming forward and talking with counselors about maybe their need for assistance or their friends' need for assistance, and whether it be alcohol, drug, or even social media issues in terms of sexual harassment or hazing. Bullying, I should say. The next slide takes us into re-engaging the disengaged student. We've used a lot of information here, and we're not going to ever get away from this, and we're going to use a lot of the data that was presented to us by the Comprehensive District Review report, and I'll touch on that a little bit, that came from the DESC, and I have a couple areas in curriculum instruction that will be focused at Plymouth South High School this year, which actually will start up as early as tomorrow. But here we go with this, engaging the disengaged student. So we've used a lot of data that comes through a tool through Edwin, and it shares with us a lot of MCAS data as well as student performance in a lot of different areas. But our focus in this particular year, or this particular 2 years, would have been more on the Freshman Academy and the philosophy around the Freshman Academy and how much success we've had there. I'm going to ask Ms. Osberg to touch on that. She's one of our grade 9 Freshman Academy teachers.
So it seems to be that our motto should be failure is not an option on the Freshman Academy. And I think the numbers really kind of prove that. We had, I believe it was 2 students who were reteamed for the 2017-2018 school year. And I think that just goes to show all of the hard work that goes in on the Freshman Academy to help the students be successful their freshman year. Parent meetings are, I think, the biggest thing that really goes to show all of the things. It's a culmination of all of the things we do. It's very individualized. We target the students who are struggling to help them find success. Mr. LaRanger will meet with students come the springtime and give them a plan of what they need to get in certain classes in order to pass for the year. And I think having those 2 students, just 2 students reteamed for this current school year is really a testament to all the hard work that goes into the Freshman Academy.
Thank you, Julie. That's exactly right. And Mr. LaRanger is here with us tonight and certainly deserves a lot of credit for what he's been able to do with his team in the Freshman Academy. And that number that is up here, what's nice about this number is that oftentimes, and Dr. Sorensen and I have had this conversation at last year's school council, is that there's the students that are really struggling learners that get a lot of support, and then there's the really high-level learner that gets a lot of support. in terms of their programming and academic curriculum, but then the students that are in the middle, those are the ones that we need to really draw our attention to so they don't slip through the cracks. And this model works, and as you can see, this takes care of all kids, not just the struggling kids and not the higher level students as well. A lot of things were in place. I'll let you take a look at some of the things that we did that were listed in the in this slide, along with the things that Julie mentioned. And then this is the one thing that we started a long time ago, and Mr. LaRanger and his Freshman Academy team have used this quite a bit, is it's a good example of setting goals. So if a student knows what their average is in term 1 and what their average is in term 2, what should they be shooting for to ensure that they can attain at least a 50% or above to salvage some of their credits? Our next slide will take us into our new school improvement plan for 2017 through 2019. And what we decided as a group and as an administrative team, along working with our academic and vocational department heads, is that we were going to head in this direction. So we presented these goals with the help of our school council the other night. The first one is on MCAS data. And for me, this is very important because not only is it something that is attainable, it's measurable, it's something that our district can certainly provide us with the information we need to try to make some adjustments in what we are doing at the high school level, but it also addresses curriculum instruction recommendations that came from the DESE, specifically to that of which consistently use high-quality instruction practices, particularly with a real-time formative assessment and differentiated instruction. We think that this MCAS data analysis for grade 9 and then again in leading into grade 10 is going to help us identify some students that are not already identified coming out of grade 8 as that type of struggling student that could fall through the cracks. With that being said, our department heads and coordinators, thanks to the ELA coordinator and the math coordinator, along with our newly designed data team, will be looking at student scores coming out of grade 8 and identifying early, right now, in October, grade 9 students that could be at risk of not achieving proficiency or better on the grade 10 MCAS or the grade 9 MCAS in biology. And we will also have faculty meetings and building in services dedicated to this. They are actually, as I mentioned earlier, meeting tomorrow with the math and ELA coordinator to go over data that they are going to provide that they have, aside from just MCAS data, that they have that helped place students where they are now in grade 9. So we're looking forward to that. We're going to analyze that. And I've asked Mrs. Matinzi to take a look at this and from her view as a parent and why this is important.
So basically, when looking at the MCAS data from the 8th grade, going into the 9th grade, that's a big transition, not only academically, but also socially. So to look at those test scores to see where the gaps may be and to set up the support systems early in the year so that students don't struggle by the midterm and start to feel that they can't make it. And so to give them that strength to get through it early and to carry on and be successful leading into the 10th grade. But also with the 10th grade, they're moving away from that model from the Freshman Academy. So to provide the information from the Freshman Academy teachers to the 10th grade teachers of those students, and it may have changed over the year depending on what their strengths and weaknesses come to be, and to set up them as a successful for their sophomore year as well. So then that can carry through to the junior and the senior year when they start to have more support. Whereas the sophomore year, sometimes that's kind of like a gap year almost for them. So to just make them feel a little bit more confident as they carry on in their academics.
Thank you. And we've talked about this, and it also addresses the need to have planned professional development for our grade 9 teachers to meet with our grade 10 teachers, because obviously we don't have that academy model in grade 10, so there's not that common planning time. So we're going to get that structured within the school day for our staff to meet from grades 9 to grade 10 to talk about that transition for kids that may have been struggling in grade 9 that were not repeated on that data that we showed you, but obviously are now out of the academy and in the sophomore courses, and get what success or what instructional strategies or what best practices were used in grade 9 that benefited those students. Our next slide is our second goal, and we're going to stay with the social emotional wellness. And we established a school-wide theme of this within our faculty's professional learning communities, which are staff time that are dedicated after school instead of faculty meetings for teachers to meet together. So that theme has been set. It's set for 2017 and 18 with the hope that what the staff are working on, they can bring that into the classroom. We will also have a guest speaker in January 2018, and her focus is on domestic violence. But I asked Mr. Nolan, as a parent and a business owner here in Plymouth, who knows a lot of different families, to touch on why we should maintain this goal of social and emotional wellness.
It is, thank you very much, first of all. For me, as a parent with a son with a lot of friends and a daughter who just went through the school, there are a myriad of challenges facing these kids today, as you all know, whether it be substances, social media, peer pressure, cyber, anything that we can do as a school, as a community, to give our faculty the tools to identify and rectify the situations as early as possible, I think is beneficial to each individual student and to our community as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nolan. And one thing that we will be working with our school council is going through the data that was provided by the Pride surveys, which is certainly it's alarming. I'm sure you've had an opportunity to have this shared with you, so we'll be addressing that. Again, a measurable goal. We'd like to try to bring this back out after the work that we do this school year and have our students take this one again and see exactly if we've made any progress with what you know is in here for student abuse or exposure to drugs, alcohol, marijuana, tobacco, and prescription drugs. So our goal 3 is an exposure to post-secondary opportunities. I think this is very important. Firm believer in this. The opportunity for our students to experience college road tours will begin early this year, actually in a couple weeks, actually next week, where our freshmen will be traveling out to various colleges. We'll be doing some workshops, as Bella mentioned, with colleges on campus. And we also are always active with vocational technical post-secondary training opportunities and having those folks either come to campus or provide our students a chance to visit there as well. And so I thought I'd ask some of our students to talk about their experiences either on a college campus or why this type of goal is important for them overall as we move into this school year. So Tony, do you want to start?
As a vocational technical student, the ability to explore future careers beyond the technical shops is a great experience. As a culinary arts student, I can expand my career search to opportunities including marketing, business, and financial fields.
As a junior, I'm starting to look at colleges, and sometimes I don't have rides to get to the schools, so having our school support us and help us get to the schools that we want to see is a great program that we're really looking forward to having this year and in the future.
I had the pleasure of attending PCC, which is Project Contemporary Competitiveness at Stonehill College, and it allowed me to see what college life is like for the summer for 6 weeks. And at Plymouth South, we want to make this more advertised to students, that there are many programs like this, and we also want to help them get accepted to these programs.
Thank you. So I think exposure leads to use of Naviance, our guidance curriculum, as well as use of the Massachusetts Association of School Counselors curriculum. And we'll be able to do that a little bit more using the help from our guidance counselors, getting into directed studies and using that K-block time to expose students to more opportunities, what exists out there. So, for example, as Tony said, as a culinary arts student, there's so much more that branches off of just working in a kitchen as a chef that Tony wants to explore, so that when she pursues her post-secondary education, she knows what's out there, aside from just working at a restaurant. And then moving on, we thought that this year, specifically, with the freshmen going on tours next week, then we jump into the juniors and attack that and brainstorm ideas with our school council on how best to make that work and how we can provide our kids an opportunity to get on campuses, whether it be through transportation or whether it be through the reverse of that, through almost like a virtual reality tour of the campuses, or whatever it may be. We'll be able to try to get more exposure for our kids. And then finally, I just want to share that there are some school-wide goals that are always ongoing. So aside from establishing a very positive culture and climate that has existed at Plymouth South for just over, mostly over the last 10 years, 12 years, I would like to say that our school-wide goals continue in the areas that you see here. I've asked Mr. Fruzetti and Ms. Geddes to talk a little bit about their experiences as teachers in the building and how these goals that they see touch on one of these goals that they see are continuing to happen. So I'll turn it over to Ms. Geddes.
The school culture of Plymouth South High School is very positive and nurturing. All the teachers and faculty members put the students' learning and well-being first, which is something that I really loved coming here. Also, the staff is very supportive and caring, willing to share materials, help do whatever. So it's been really great.
In terms of a personalization standpoint, I think, especially for me personally, having continued through the advisory program, and my advisory is in their senior year, and these are kids that I've seen grow from freshmen into mature young adults, and just sitting around and talking today, watching CNN and having those meaningful conversations with those kids, and just seeing how far they've come over the last 4 years. I just think it's the personalization within the students in our advisories, and getting to know kids and getting a deeper understanding of them as people and not just as students is something that should continue to enrich their education. And also, on a personalization standpoint, I think that our faculty being involved in going to VPA performances and sporting events, and when you go to a Plymouth South High School event, you see many staff members in the crowd, and I think that it goes a long way when you come to school the next morning and you've been out until 8, 9 o'clock at night watching a student perform, and they come up to you the next day and they say thank you. I think that goes a long way with the student, knowing that you're invested in not only their education but other things that they're interested in, and them becoming well-rounded citizens. So I think we should continue to work on that, and I know that we will.
This evening, I just would like to end with a quote that we adopted for our ribbon cutting ceremony, and it was, "At Plymouth South, I can be," and it open-ended. And I remind you all that were attended that night that we represented a variety of different things that we can attain for our kids at Plymouth South High School, and opportunities that exist are so plentiful and so real and so authentic, and they're college and career ready, and that's the theme. And where we go from here, we want to just keep getting better, and we do have a tremendous amount of opportunities for professional development to do that. I just want to also highlight that sent to Dr. Campbell was a more specific 2017-2019 school improvement plan. That information aligns with the strategic plan, the principal's goals, as well as more specific goals in terms of the school council, professional development activities, and implications on the budget and how we would measure success. So again, thank you for the opportunity, and if you have any questions, we'd love to answer those for you.
Let's see what we have. Committee members. Mrs. Hunt.
I don't have a question, just a comment. I just wanted to congratulate all of you. I know that this fall has probably been the most, work and blood, sweat, and tears that you guys have done, and I know everybody pitched in and helped, so congratulations, and the school is beautiful, and I have a soft spot for Plymouth South ever since my son was there, but just good work and keep it up. Good job.
Thank you, Ms. Hunt. And I think one thing is that you nailed it on the head, is that there was a lot of things going on, but teaching and love for learning and taking care of the kids, that hasn't wavered. So we're even working around the traffic pattern and what the punch list is, and getting HVAC.
You have to
and all.
educate the students at the same
Right,
time.
right.
So with everything else that you've had thrown at you, just, like North did
Right,
years
and
ago, but
let's-
I think equipment-wise and all that, you
Certainly.
had some challenges.
And I was fortunate to be part of that struggle at North, just as a vocational supervisor director, and being over there and seeing some of those struggles in the first year, and I think we've learned a lot from that and how to manage the staff and stick together as a family.
And I don't know if you heard, the last school committee meeting, I reported out that I have a friend that goes to is a parent in a different district, and she texted me out of the blue and she said, "Hey, I'm at the Taj Mahal." And I'm like, "What? What are you doing?" She goes, "I'm at a volleyball game at South." Oh my God. So it was, and she's from Bridgewater Raynham, so,
That's
you know,
great.
it's far reached,
Thank you.
the people that are impressed with you guys.
Appreciate
so,
it. Thank you.
Good job.
Other committee members with questions, observations? I have a couple I want to go over with you. I have one question and then maybe a suggestion. My question, because you know I'm very interested in the disaffected student. We talked about that back when I was on the council. And I heard it was reported here this evening that you know, we identify students in the 8th grade and we set up a support system early in their 9th grade. Tell me something about that support system.
Certainly. So ideally, right now we identify students based on certain scores for specific programming. But what we would like to do is take a look at, with the help of our math and ELA coordinator specifically, about how these students are being rated, so to speak, or judged based on certain types of assessments that they have used in grade 8, such as the STAR math program or the SRI reading, and use that information and share that information and talk about that information, aside from just MCAS data, with our staff, and how to come up with best practices to address these things. Now, many of these students are already placed maybe like in a literacy enrichment course, but that course isn't available for everyone. So what we're trying to do is not figure out at the end of January that this student might have some real struggles in those 2 content areas, but try to work with that right now. And once we do that, then we can have our freshman academy teachers come up with these strategies to report back to their team and how best to serve those students that might have some struggling abilities in those areas.
I appreciate that. Can you get a little bit more specific? So we identify the student,
Certainly.
we report back. Now, what exactly happens to that student?
Okay, good point. So obviously what we would want to do then is provide them with additional supports, and how that would look is we would exactly take their specific areas of need, and instead of maybe them using their directed study time as a math lab where they just go in with a population of kids, we would pull them for that, identify them and try to pull those students for that. We would also tailor our homework club, which it meets after school, and tailor that to more specific standards that might be more of a overall concern.
Are they receptive?
So far, we haven't. This is going to be tomorrow is our first day to look at the data,
All right.
and then we're going to start pulling those students. But knowing the success we've had in the past with identifying those learners and moving forward with them, I think we will have success.
I'd love to hear more about that as we see how it develops.
Well, I'll invite you to school council again.
I get invited to a lot of places. My suggestion, you know, when we have an outside group come in, such as the Comprehensive District Review team that came in, they look at a lot of printed material. They don't get the chance to talk to you. And when you write your reading it, I'm getting to here, where we measure the students, how we measure success. In five of the areas here, what you wrote was too vague. I understand it because you can tell me about it, but when a group comes in about this and reads things like increase awareness, reduce alcohol consumption, and I can go on, there's a whole bunch of them here. We need it to be more specific. How will we know if alcohol consumption is reduced? Well, now I know because you told me 5 minutes ago that we're going to do the survey again.
Mm-hmm.
But that should have been written down so that when the outside group comes in, they know what to look at to see if alcohol consumption actually has gone down.
Very good.
All right. Otherwise, they won't know that.
But it is in the other attachment.
Thank you.
I'm sorry?
There's 2 attachments. In the other attachment, they got more specific with their SMART goals
Appreciate
and
that.
stuff.
And finally, has nothing to do with your presentation, but I have to ask you while you're here. Mrs. Burgess and I sit on the building committee. Should we have made the glass in the teacher's room opaque?
Teachers?
You can answer it any way you want.
Each floor has for those that might not know or those watching at home, each floor has a teacher's faculty workroom. And I see what you're saying. What are your thoughts?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, put you on the spot. Yeah, go ahead. Tell us what you really think.
That makes it easy like that,
At
too.
first, I felt a little apprehensive about the open windows while we're like doing work and, you know, having lunch, and now I kind of like it. You know, it's very inviting. You can see what the kids are doing. They walk by and they wave at you, and it's fun.
But
it's
do
nice.
you want them to see what you're doing? I mean, that.
You wanna keep going?
Yeah, I think
Come on, Darren.
this being my ninth year at Plymouth South, I haven't had windows in 8 years, so I'm not going to complain about windows now. So I'll take any window I can get.
You know, Dr. Sorensen, that's a great point, but I mean, obviously, and I know you read this, the educational philosophy that went to the MSBA to get this project even started was about showcasing staff and student work. And that's what it's all about. So when kids walk by and they see our staff working, it's just the same thing that when we walk by the classroom, our administrators are out in the hallways all the time. And the classrooms are designed that way so we can look in and see kids actively working, whether it be project-based, whether it be presenting, it doesn't matter. So I think it fits the goal of the building perfectly.
Okay. I appreciate the answer to that
Yeah.
question. I appreciate your candidness. Thank you very much. Any other questions? Dr. Maestas.
I'd just like to add to that. I was at South last week and then again today, and I was in there around lunchtime, and I saw teacher workrooms on all the first and second floor. I didn't get to the third, and it was really nice from my perspective to see the teachers, because you know, to go into a classroom and disrupt a classroom and say hi to staff. It was really nice to see 6 teachers working around the table, and I waved over and they were waved back, and it's just a different feel. And I think Jim's point is well taken in the sense of how do we demonstrate that we're a community, that we open the walls, open the doors, this is who we are. And I think that mentality and philosophy is something that is new because the teacher workrooms at Old South were, block walls with a small, one on the second floor had a small window in it that I would look in there and it was one room for a lot of people. So I think to see them in their own space and to be enjoying that, I think it's taken a while to get used to because it's not the norm.
Okay.
But that's my opinion. I like it.
If I could just say to them too, I think the second floor teachers' room used to have 4 teacher desks in it as well as their space. So it's nice to see them in classrooms. But and I just wanted to thank them out. It was highlighted, obviously, the move, but I still hear about, just like when you move into a house, it's going to take a year to learn when the electrical outlet isn't in the right place. And I hear it all, guys, just so you know, those in the back. Or when, you have clients coming in and the Cosmo desk isn't in yet. And it's enormous task. And the staff has just stepped up for the kids. That's what they do. So it was good. So thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming in this evening.
Thank you. Who's a teacher.
It will. One of these days.
Okay, our next item is our first presentation from Cindy Sylvia. Dr. Maestas.
Yes, tonight we have our, I don't want to call her new because it doesn't feel like you're new anymore, but welcome tonight, Cindy Sylvia, and we have Chris Baker, and they're here tonight to present the career vocational technical education update. And Cindy has been hard at work, and Chris, I want to just say something to you. I know that last year we expected a great deal from you. We didn't expect it. We asked you to do stuff and you went beyond to really get this building in shape.
If you want to bring your staff up, Cindy, you can bring your staff up.
So I just want to mention to you, Chris, that monumental job and great work. And I know that this work is continuing. I was in your classroom last Thursday or Friday, and the amount of preparation to get inspections done, things are moving forward. And I want to thank you and your team for just stepping up and making things work. So thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the support. Appreciate it.
So Cindy, we'll turn it over to you.
So first, we good?
Yes,
It'll pick up.
All right, so first I'd just like to thank you for my first presentation along with a great team. I've been a coach for over 35 years, and no one realizes more than me the power of a team. And I'm very, very, very grateful that I have incredible group of people to work with every day, from the administration over at Plymouth North and South, but especially my department chairs that are here today. So I'm very, very lucky in that way. I'd like to introduce them to just take a quick minute. Barry Levy isn't here, but he is our culinary department head. Beth Ann Orchard is early education and care. Doris Grant is marketing. She wins.
Bingo.
Good response, Monty.
So Doris Grant is marketing, business tech, and she also oversees medical assisting. Carol Faria is cosmetology. Steve Medeiros is construction cluster, which is plumbing, electrical, HVAC, and carpentry. Brad Hart is CAD and graphic design, and Laura Drew is allied health, engineering, marketing, and facilities management over at North. Our co-op coordinator is Maureen Kelleher, and I'm thankful that she's here tonight. And the technical studies supervisor, transportation cluster department chair, and Batman to my Robin is Chris Baker. I would have been Batman, but he really drives the Batmobile, so I couldn't be.
He does. He's got a few Batmobiles.
Right. So I'm lucky in that way. And finally, I just want to thank and recognize Jim Hanna for a lot of the data that you'll see tonight presented is him. It's his work, his compilation of data that he entered into the state prior to me being here. So I want to thank him for all his support and to help with part of this presentation tonight. All right. Also, a lot of the pictures that you're going to see are, I would say, about 90% from this year. So it's going to be exciting to see some of our kids this year at work. Okay, our program of studies. There's a few changes that I want to recognize along with the 17 programs that we have here that you get used to seeing year after year. But there are a few additions and a few subtractions. For this year, our subtractions are marine tech and metal fab. And our addition is HVAC. And we also added medical assisting this year as well over at South. So it's been some changes. Our metal fab kids, we have to figure out how we service them upon graduation, getting them through the program, which we have a great plan. And Mr. Baker, you want to talk about those metal fab kids?
Sure. So in the automotive area there, we've been able to have a nice spot where we have some welding technology that takes place that is related to the automotive field. And we also have some kids that have been placed on co-op opportunities in that field at this stage.
So those have really been the changes to the program from last year to this year. And outside of that, everything's the same. If you can see those pictures up there, those are all from the ones from the new school. And then we have one, I think, from, no, those are all from, no, Allied Health is from North, the one on the left, but that's also from this year. So you can kind of see the new space that they have to work, which is pretty incredible. Absolutely, positively incredible. All right. So our enrollment this year. Over at South, we have 570 students enrolled in technical studies, and at Plymouth North, we have 318 kids enrolled in their 4 programs over at Plymouth North. It's absolutely exciting time right now. I had the pleasure of meeting with Mr. Bastoni, his parents, and the students about the first robotics program that's going on this year, which is incredibly exciting. We're team number 23, he keeps telling me, which is pretty special. So we're really excited about what things going on over there. And over at Plymouth South, just acclimating to the new space and watching culinary, for instance, have capacity on a Friday or on a Thursday, or, you know, did you make a reservation because it's getting tough to get in from the public, which is pretty exciting. They're doing extraordinary things in all the programs. Want to talk about your programs? You good? Beth Ann? Okay. I promised them pizza, and they told me I could take them off the hook. So, so yeah, that's our enrollment this year. The CVTE graduate study. This is reported to the state every year, and we had positive placement for 98.78% of our students. That's the number of students that we got to report in this study. Almost 30% are employed in related program of studies, which is really, really incredibly impressive that they go right into their field. 9.15 is non-related study. We have a little over half going into post-secondary education, and then about 5% into the military. So that's the breakdown. That study is from the cohort of the class of 2015. So I like that study because it really does show not just where they are the next minute after they graduate, but it really does show some longevity and some career pathways that you can track. And I really like the 2-year study. Okay, our non-traditional enrollment. 13% of the freshmen that are enrolled are non-traditional by gender as of 2017, this year, and 11% of our upperclassmen. We have to do a little bit better job with our non-traditional. It's hard, though. We can expose them to it. We can tell them why that they want to be enrolled in some of those career paths, but they have to want to choose it. You can't force somebody into a career path that they're not passionate about. So I think part of that is just giving them lots of information to maybe make a more educated decision about what their passion is, what their career path is, as opposed to really saying, hey, we got to do this to get more men in cosmetology. You know, find out what's keeping them from it. You know, maybe barbering school is something that they can take off after they leave cosmetology. I know they can't be in barbering school, Carol. I've already talked it over with her. It'd be great to have them do that. But yeah, just give them more options and more, explore strategies to increase that number just by giving them information.
So at South, we have academic electives for all of the shops. So kids who are not necessarily a CVT student have the opportunity to get their hands dirty and explore a vocational pathway. For a lot of kids, it's just some life skill, and for some kids, it's a way off of a waiting list into a shop area that they want to be in. And some kids just like to explore something that they haven't had a chance to explore before. But yeah, it's a great opportunity for them, and it's nice to be able to meet a lot of different kids that are in the building, and they really seem to enjoy that.
Okay, a cooperative internship education program. Maureen is hard at work placing our kids where they're going to be most successful. She's always trying to find that better placement, which I think is really special. It's not just choosing one place and trying to put 6 kids there. It's really finding the right fit for the right kid. And right now we have 45 kids who are out on co-op, and if I'm not mistaken, Maureen can correct me, but we have our first 2 going from Plymouth North this year. So that's kind of exciting to spread that excitement over to the Plymouth North Eagle family. We met today. We're going to work on the scheduling. Just so you know, the scheduling is very difficult to work with co-op because in a traditional vocational program might be a week on, a week off. It's easy to manage. Or even a schedule that's more stagnant. It would be more easy to manage. But by the fact that it rotates every single day, and then it rotates every single period, so never 2 days in a row are going to be the same, it's hard for employers to acquiesce to our schedule and to get Maureen to make that perfect fit, because it's got to be a win-win. It's going to be a win for the employer because they get one of our kids, but it's going to be a win for our kids because they get to work in the field early. So I think that the schedule does pose different obstacles, but none we can't get over thanks to Maureen and her hard work and finding the right placement for the right kids. So our articulation agreements, this gives kids pathways and choices. And this is my favorite part about giving the whole package to the kids. If they want to pursue their electrical license and then create their own business, they can seek management. They can start ahead of the curve with these articulation agreements at the different schools. I know that Cape Cod Community College is got excellent marketing programs that mirror both programs here at Plymouth North and Plymouth South. And if I'm not mistaken, we can get up to 6 credits just coming out of those programs, which is a great start. Anytime you can give the kids an edge to get on campus to further their education, no matter what their career path, we're a step in the right direction. So these schools that have partnered with us and the state to provide these articulation agreements, I know that we're using similar books at a lot of these higher learning institutions we're using either the same book or a book just like it. So we have Cape Cod Community College is paramount also with the way that they tie into what we do with regard to the curriculum. So the Tech Expo.
So as this slide shows here, we go to PCIS and Plymouth South Middle School and visit during the school day. We also have the Tech Expo that we have every year that all the kids from the middle schools will come to Plymouth South and check out the shops, and then we'll be open that evening so that the parents can check out the shops as well. And we've been doing that for years, and we will continue to do so.
Okay, Skills USA and DECA. Pretty passionate about this slide, and I'll tell you why. For 22 years, I've been competing against Plymouth. And let me tell you, it's been overwhelming. And I know firsthand the importance of these two life-changing student organizations. Skills USA and DECA change lives. They just don't exist so that kids can have some place to join. They truly do change lives. I've watched it happen. And, you know, it's going to be very interesting to not have to prepare to beat Plymouth North and Plymouth South, and really to be there to celebrate their victory, because it really is special here in Plymouth what's done as far as DECA. I have firsthand knowledge of that, and what I hear about Skills, I'm excited to go to see how we compete in that venue as well. But I went to a Skills USA meeting. The kids are just as excited. They just are. And they're professional, they're go-getters, and they represent our town so well. So I'm looking forward to go to Skills USA, but also both these organizations are definitely paramount to what we do at both schools.
I need my glasses, unfortunately. So for our public services, we continue to offer services from all shops to the public. It's a little tough getting going here, you know, right away, but we're already starting to take stuff in the automotive shop this coming week. So the kids are excited about that, and they love working on the live stuff. We've got ongoing jobs in the construction area, and we've got people calling every day. I'm fielding phone calls daily for all sorts of work. So we are continuing our service as usual.
Okay, accountability. All kids in the technical studies program are held to a standard. Tracking competencies is key. Every shop that we have frameworks that are followed. We have competencies that are tracked and reported out to both the kid and the student, to the student and the student's parents at the end of the year. They know how they progressed in each standard of every piece of the framework for every shop that they take. And you cannot, as they say, you know, you can't just say, oh yeah, they passed electrical. Well, do you want them to work in your house? Or do you want them to actually know what they're doing when it comes time to actually adhering to the standards? Furthermore, they can't go on and become apprentices, journeymen, or anything else if they don't have those hours. So it is very important that not only that they get that competency, but also that we report out so the parent knows what they've achieved as well. And I think the students like seeing it. So we do track that. We also are big on DDMs. We have pre-tests, we have post-tests. We find out the growth of that student over the course of a year. We track that. A lot of it will show up in the evaluation system in educator goals for student performance. The entrepreneurship workshop. At Plymouth South, bless you, at Plymouth South, there's almost there's one shop that takes care of the entrepreneurship as a workshop, and the kids rotate through that shop so that they all have that piece of the curriculum if they don't get it organically in their shops. So that's something that we're really proud of. And then we have to bring that to Plymouth North as well, but they get that more so in the marketing end of things over at Plymouth North.
And this slide shows the health and safety training that's offered there. All the kids get a live 10-hour OSHA courses as it applies to their field. So if they're either going to get a 1910 card if they're in a general industry shop, or 1926 if they are in a construction field, or they're serve safe for culinary arts, and the CPR for shops that do not need the OSHA certificate. So all students coming through the vocational program are going to have that sort of certification. Program Advisory Committee. Our advisory meeting is coming up shortly, and all the shops have committees that are made up of all facets of the community, from business members to students, and they're from education. They're from all different parts of post-secondary education, which makes those committees up. And this year we'll be meeting in how soon? 26th.
So those advisory committees, they advise, they assist, they support the programs, they give labor market trends, they talk about technology developments within the shops and really keep our kids current. So that's really important. This year is my first advisory dinner, and we have a special guest flying in from California, and that is Chelsea Cummings. She's a Plymouth South grad. What year, Doris? 06. 2006 graduate. She is Business Insider's #2 on a list of 30 most creative people under the age of 30. So in the country. So she'll be speaking at the advisory dinner. Thanks to Doris for landing her. She's coming out specifically for the dinner. That's why she's coming. It's not like she was in town and thought she'd stop by.
Mhm.
She's coming right here because tech studies meant so much to her in her career that she thought that this would be her way to come back and support the program. So that advisory dinner and meeting will be on the 26th this year at 6 p.m. Okay, so aligning to the strategic plan, some goals. Goal number 1, to enhance student social emotional growth. One of the crazy things about being in a shop is that you spend an awful lot of time with these kids, and they become part of your family. You spend 2, 3, 4 periods with them a day. Sometimes that's more than they would see their own families. So creating that bond between another adult in the building, somebody, a go-to person, really does enhance that student's trust, and it gives them somebody that they can depend on. And that goes so much further than just what they're learning in the classroom. So having that special bond in tech studies is something that I think definitely attaches to goal 1. Goal 2, increase family and community engagement. My staff and I together have really started to utilize Google Classroom. And it gives access to kids and parents to what's going on inside the shop and inside the classroom. In Google Classroom, you can invite the kids and you can invite the parents. So you can put curriculum, you can put up a motivational video, you can put up an instructional video. The parents almost have a bird's eye view of what's going on in that shop or that classroom based on this trend. It's new to some of my staff, and they've embraced it. Some have run with it. Some are jogging. But some are learning, but they're all trying and really trying to make instructional technology part of their world. So I think that that's really important. And the use of school-wide rubrics, using the writing across the curriculum and being part of the big culture and not just isolated in tech, and being part of the whole entire school community. And they all do writing across the curriculum that they grade with school-wide rubrics. So those are different ways that in tech that we try to align to the strategic plan.
And the annual senior showcase we'll do as we've done every year. This event is where the kids get to showcase their portfolios of work that they've done and accomplished throughout their time at Plymouth South or throughout their senior year, depending upon which project they've done. And it really shows the community as well as their parents and other classmates, what they've done and what they've achieved. And it is really, I think it's the highlight of the year. I'm sure a lot of you have been able to seen it in years past, and it really shows their vocational journey. I think it's a great way to showcase that.
Okay, and to further talk about communication, the website's constantly being updated, revised, making sure that it's current so that parents have an accurate account of what's going on in all the shops, descriptions and otherwise. So our supportive staff do a great job on making sure that that's updated on a daily basis if need be.
So I'll just talk about the cluster models for a second. A couple of changes is that the transportation cluster is such a fantastic shop. It is absolutely gorgeous. Got an auto collision area in it and a automotive technology program. And if you walked in there, it looks like you're walking into a modern service center. It's absolutely impressive, and it's a really nice atmosphere for the kids. The construction cluster is great. It's got carpentry, plumbing, and HVAC in it with a humongous mock-up, which is divided up into sections, and each section has got all sorts of things the kids can tap into to set up little learning stations, whether it's to put set up an HVAC system, or to put in a water heater, or to simulate a furnace, or it could be a combination of those things. So each little cutout has all of the correct hookups, so they can do that and be scored and assessed right there on what they've done. So you can even have a situation, the way the mock-ups are designed, that you could have a group of plumbers come in and do and put in some bathroom fixtures, and then the HVAC kids could do some ventilation work that would just be like a real bathroom. So there's also the ability for groups to work together. Something exciting the other day when we're working in the transportation cluster is that kids are working on a frame machine trying to straighten a car out, and then they can go right to an alignment machine that's 2 spaces over to see if that framework that they did on that car is now correct, because they can align the car correctly. You could be in a vocational school that has 2 separate shops that would not have that kind of collaboration, just because it would take so long to move the vehicle from one shop to another. Chances of that happening would probably be slim. So it's really amazing, some of the things that'll be able to take place with these cluster models, and I'm really happy to be a part of that.
So we have CPR coming up, which is Coordinated Program Review, which for vocational education is their NEASC. Basically, I don't know if it's me, but when I became a department chair in Wareham, we hadn't had a CPR review in 15 years until the year I became department chair. So that was fun to go through that. And so now I'm here as the vocational technical director, and CPR is this year. So maybe it'll keep it away for a while. But we did have a preliminary walkthrough on Friday, about 4 hours from the state. Mr. Hanna invited him down to come down and go through, and Mr. Baker and his team were great about making sure we had all the signage that we needed, and made sure that our I's were dotted and our T's were crossed for as far as we could. And they went through with a pretty fine-tooth comb on Friday and found very few problems, very few problems in the new building, which is great. And what was problematic is very easily remedied. So we're excited about that. But it was really nice for Dave Edmonds to come down and do a 4-hour walkthrough for us prior to CPR, so that we could really know where we are with regard to some of that stuff. As simple as how high is your eyewash sign, because it's not exactly 7 feet.
It changes time to time.
As
you got to be
down
flexible.
To that. So it was we were lucky to have him come through, and like I said, minor adjustments, and then just go through the standards just like you would at NEASC. So that's coming up in January. And the future. Well, this is exciting, because what I've just reported back on is pretty much about the past, and I haven't been part of a lot of that other than reading, meeting and getting to talk with these amazing department chairs about what they're passionate about and where they've been. But to look forward and to know where we could go is really exciting for me, because I know I get to be a part of that. And one of the things that we what I want to do is definitely get a fifth program over at North so that we can have an exploratory program. But to throw one in is not prudent, I don't think, because I think you have to have all the stakeholders weigh in. You got to look at your facilities, you got to hear from your parents, you got to hear from your students, you got to work with the administration, and you got to find what's the right fit for Plymouth North High School. And when you find that, then you bring the program in if we can do it. You know, we have to talk to Gary Costin and make sure we can afford to bring that program in. So there's a lot that goes into it, but definitely conducting a feasibility study to see what that fifth program would be is exciting to bring that, see if I can bring that and our team bring that into North. The second one is the establishment of the Tech Leadership Council, which is going to be 2 students from every tech shop, and they're going to meet once a month with myself, Mr. Baker, and really just have a roundtable and see what's working for them and give student voice, personalization, bring the students right into the leadership of it all. And that's really important, I think, to bring that personalization to the tech studies program. And finally, community outreach. I met today with Brad Hart in CAD, and he asked if he could be the first to try to open this up to the community. We have got to open these programs and this building up to the community. They sponsored it, they support us, it's there for the taking, and it could be an incredibly powerful bridge between the community and our schools and our kids. And our kids can definitely be part of it, and they can serve as mentors to the community when they come in and learn their trade. Sometimes it's a powerful thing to sit down and not know how to start framing a house on CAD and then have a senior sitting right next to them who's going to take them through it. You know, it really brings meaning to everything that the town of Plymouth has invested in their kids, in their school system, and I'm really excited to be a part of that future moving forward. So those are our 3 goals that we want to accomplish through this year in technical studies. And thank you. And if you have any questions, I have my leadership team that I actually will give the microphone to, whether they want it or not, because they promised.
Okay, that was wonderful. Committee members, Mrs. Hunt.
Sorry. Just one thing is, last spring I was invited to participate with former Secretary of Ed Paul Revels' education redesign lab, and the one thing that he said there were 3 keys to the education gap, and one was CTE and technical school. So that was making school relevant, that every child should be exposed to it, and that could actually redesign education for our future. Well, it would be nice if we got the money to back it. So that's what I think we all have to work on. But I agree with you with the North. I think it's great. I actually had a parent recently ask me about agriculture, or, you know, landscape design, that kind of thing, just throwing it out there. This week I had a parent reach out to me and ask me if we offered it. So horticulture and turf management. With all the golf courses
and all the turf that's going in, with all the schools being designed and built, it's definitely on.
And we do have a couple of kids that go to Bristol Aggie still, right?
Yeah, they go to,
But yeah, I just, you know, I always quote my oldest son, who said, you know what, Mom, if nothing else, I looked forward to 2 classes a day. And it just made all the difference to him to enjoy school. So I wish everybody got the opportunity to experience the technical programs.
And the special blend about Plymouth and the way it's done here, which is different than anywhere else I've ever seen, is that really somebody from Plymouth can be anything they want to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they can take that AP class and they can be a transportation student.
Right.
You know, they have the best of all worlds, not both worlds, but all worlds.
Yep.
And that's really opened up by the design of the buildings, both of them, and by the way, the philosophical approach and vision.
And personally, I have 3 children that are or have gone through Plymouth Public Schools. The oldest and the youngest were both in the technical program, and it's a huge difference as far as their direction. My youngest is lucky enough to be Mrs. Drew's thorn in her side, but you know, I noticed a big difference. The middle, you know, as far as their direction and their future.
I think something that really makes a difference too is having the academic electives.
Mhm.
The academic electives makes vocational education for everybody at that school.
Yep.
Which, you know, when you go back a long time, many years ago, if it was, you were either a vocational student or you weren't.
Right.
And that is so different now. That makes that school belong to everybody. And it's really, that to me, being there almost 20 years, is probably one of the biggest changes that I've seen over a 20-year period. Is even kids who I'll have kids that'll come up to me and go, I had you for automotive for a period, or I had you for this, and I got to do this, or I got to do that. And even if you can do one thing, they may never, ever get a chance to do something like that again. So it really is a big deal.
I think it's powerful, just the fact that they're saying that the CTE classes are the key to the education gap. I mean, that's pretty powerful, and that puts a lot of responsibility on us, but I think that means a lot.
Dr. Maestas.
Yeah, I was talking to Ms. Sylvia earlier tonight, and I had the opportunity to run into one of our new Plymouth South High School students who's new to Plymouth and is a junior. And I asked him, how's school going? He says, I love it. I absolutely love school. I've never liked school. I love it. I want more HVAC. He's in the HVAC program. If I could be there all day long, I'd be in there all day long. So I just want you all to know that, you know, there are kids that are finding their home, and I think that's great. That's what we want to do. And I can tell you there's one kid out there that's extremely happy that he came to Plymouth and extremely happy that he's learning. And for his parents to see that enthusiasm, it means a lot.
Big deal.
Other committee members? So two I thought interesting stories. When I was in Japan this summer, we visited a temple that had been destroyed by the tsunami, and it was rebuilt. It's a beautiful building. It's columns and 3 stories and wood carvings and an altar and windows and balcony. And the high priest was telling a story when some students from our Plymouth schools visited that temple just after it was built. He said to them, this building was built without nails because they're building it to be earthquake-proof, so the whole building can move. And when I have pictures on my phone, it's just amazing what they can do in building. So the high priest said to the Plymouth student, could you folks build this? And they said, not without CAD. Great presentation. I'm excited about first of all, the numbers. You talk about growth. When we first presented vocational programs in Plymouth in the late 1980s, people looked at it as a school for delinquents.
Yeah.
They thought it was a school for kids who were, couldn't make it. Look where we've come. We have almost 1,000, your numbers are almost 1,000 kids in vocational. That's an amazing number. I'm just so excited about it, and I'm so excited about the idea that we can offer electives the way we offer it. And the final point is, when I first moved to Plymouth, bought my first house, I took an adult ed program at Upper Cape to learn some stuff that I needed to learn. I would imagine there would be a waiting list to do adult ed in Plymouth if we could run that.
Absolutely.
Dr. Stearns, if I can add one other thing. I don't say a lot when I see the people I know, but I think in the last I've been in Plymouth 12 years, I think. I've survived. You guys taught me well. And my first year in Plymouth, the vocational program was not viewed as what it truly was, and it really is a testimony to the teachers of the level they brought it to, the openness for any student. The stories go on, and they know that, but it's open for everyone. And you can be in an AP class, you can be a struggling student, you can have emotional disabilities, and you can still succeed at both high schools in vocational education. And it's really a testimony to the staff who's embraced that, especially in the last 12 or so years. It's remarkable, the on the street appeal for it. Because when I went to high school, it's like, okay, are you a voc kid or are you not? And they just teach everyone, and we're all learning that we need these skills, so it's been unbelievable, but the staff is tremendous, so.
And in both schools, when I'm there, you can't tell who is a tech kid or an academic. It doesn't matter. You're a Plymouth kid. And that's the specialness of what's going on here. I'm telling you, Plymouth is on the forefront of something incredibly special. There are going to be a lot of people that come down to see how it's done down here, because it is going to be the model moving forward, I really believe, of these schools that are being built and really giving their kid pathways. Well, do they really give them pathways, or do we really give them pathways? Because there are all different places that they can go once they enter either Plymouth North or Plymouth South, Plymouth in general. But yeah, the vision is there.
Okay, and let me close by saying that I think the committee, I can speak for the committee, I think we would like to see the school in action. We've all toured the school empty, but you said something, you walk into a shop and you're amazed at what I would love to see it in action. So I'd like to get a tour someday.
Absolutely.
Anytime, all the time. Come, it's
And
always there.
I think based on what
Lots of
you just said,
Like we're doing tomorrow
based on what
morning,
you just said, the students will get used to people coming through, because people are going to want to come through and see
Oh, they do
this.
already. They don't even look up anymore when somebody's touring, whether it be a reporter, whether it be, when we had the state for the 4 hours, they didn't even look up.
Yeah.
They were just in stride.
The other day when I had the guy from the state doing the safety check, the one thing he was really amazed with was the glass on the upper level and the ability to watch what was going on in the shop from
Yeah.
the second floor. Because you're not looking, when you're down there and you're working, you don't even remember that that's up there.
Mhm.
And it's one thing to walk on the lower level and look into a shop, and you can just see a couple things in front of you. But if you look in from the second floor, you're watching the whole thing, and it's really pretty impressive. And I realize it when I go to upstairs to go in a supervision role, looking at other shops, and I get a chance to walk past my own shop and see what people are doing, and it's pretty good feeling.
Student and teacher alone, I mean, student and teacher together, just are very, very used to having eyes on them. Like Chris said, the building is wide open for everybody to see, and everybody needs to see what's going on, because it's all good stuff happening. And the kids don't bat an eye anymore, because they know that there are always eyes on them, whether it's a student walking by, whether it's another teacher walking by, whether it's the press coming in, whether it's another school coming in. And, it just doesn't faze them, and that's great, because that just means they're on their way. They got a goal, and they just don't ever get derailed.
Okay, final points from anybody?
That was wonderful.
That was a great report. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
We're going to take a 5-minute break, everybody. 5 minutes, please. Okay, thank you. We're back in session. We have a request for out-of-town field trip, Dr. Maestas?
Yes, tonight we have a cosmetology field trip, and this is to the Rhode Island Convention Center in Providence, and this is a annual trip. The reason why it's on the agenda tonight is it hasn't come before school committee in quite some time, and we felt it would be important to actually get this in front of you. So tonight, Carol is here, and Cindy, they're both here to answer any questions that you may have.
Want to
You
tell
want
us
me to
something,
tell you about it?
something about the trip?
We're going to get a bus, hopefully, and pay for it. And the students, it's called Level 1, and it's a trade show. It's a cosmetology trade show. It's in Providence, and it's put on by all different distributors in Rhode Island and Massachusetts. And they have platform artists from all over the country. Right now, we have 2 very famous salons in the area that have our students working at them, and they're both going to be presenters. We also have a former student that graduated 3 years ago. When we went on the field trip, she said, I want to do that. And she just got hired by Matrix, and she's 20 years old. And she's now a Matrix educator. Her name's
Wow.
Kayla Pakusan, if you're listening.
That's fantastic.
Great.
Yeah. So it's very motivational. It's so hard to bring the industry into a classroom. You try and make it as close to a salon as possible, but they're teenagers. And when the students, the first month of school, the seniors are doing the clients, and they don't get the concept that these are adults in the classroom. They're goofing around, but today we had a lot of clients, and because of the schedule, we really have cut back on our days, and they really kicked butt.
Good, that's great to hear.
They're really good. So it's a great opportunity for them to really get introduced to the career. And they're going to see things they've never seen before.
Right.
Okay, great. Cindy, anything from you? Nope.
Cindy's going to come and get her license, too.
No, I just support the cosmetology program. Carol's recommendation for the program, I'd love to see it, and see what the kids get out of it. But, yeah, I'm full approval of this field trip.
Ms. Hunt?
A motion?
Sure.
I move that the proposed Plymouth South High School cosmetology out-of-state field trip to Rhode Island Convention Center on October 30th be accepted and approved as presented.
Seconded by Mrs. Burgess. Question to the motion? Okay, let's take the vote.
It's got to be the record right
Okay,
there.
that vote has come up unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
thank you very much. And thank you again for tonight.
Now, Cindy, you might as well stay at the table, right? Aren't you staying at the table for the next item? No? Yes?
This is your night.
Dr. Maestas?
advisory.
Yes.
Yeah.
Every year, we have the opportunity to have the advisors to the CVTE program approved by school committee. This is a statute, it is something that has to happen. And this year, you can see there's a list of different members. And these are the members that are proposed to be working hand in hand with the vocational shops at Plymouth South and Plymouth North. And these are the individuals that will be inducted, for lack of a better word, into the advisory group to support Ms. Sylvia in her program moving forward. This is an action item, and they will be recognized and they will be supporting Ms. Sylvia in the dinner that you're having.
The dinner, and before the dinner, they spend a half-hour meeting with all their shops. They talk about relevant trends in the different industries that they are. They talk about different statistics. They talk about different practices and institutional practices, instructional practices, and really give a lot of support to each shop to know exactly what they should be doing in their shops to mirror the real world.
Okay. Committee, the floor is open.
I'll move.
Mrs. Burgess?
Yeah, I'll move that we approve the advisory.
Mrs. Burgess moves to approve the advisory as presented. Mrs. Trisselli is the second. Question to the motion? No questions? Let's take the vote.
Get out of this. How do I get back?
I like this. Let's take the vote. It's like a game show.
I know.
When it's working.
When it's in your favor, it works really well. When it's not,
Wait on Margie.
There we go. Excellent. We win.
That's unanimous. Thank you very much.
We win.
I look forward to seeing you all at the advisory dinner on the 26th. The invitations go out tomorrow, so it'll be a good time. Thank you.
And now we have some changes to our organizational chart. Dr. Maestas.
yes, tonight we have the Plymouth Public Schools organizational chart, and we tried to keep us updated anytime there's a change within the organization. Tonight, I'd like to highlight a number of proposed changes for committee approval. If you take a look on the second slide, which is the second page of the organizational chart, you'll notice that we have the first column, which is Special Education, Title I Services Director. If you scroll down, you'll notice that there's the Assistant Special Education Director, and right underneath, Plymouth Early Childhood Center Principal. Now, keep in mind that right now we have the Plymouth Early Childhood Director. It's the Plymouth Early Childhood is in this building. And what we are proposing is that we also have the Plymouth Family Network that is in this building as well, and they're actually in the same space. So when we had Mount Pleasant, we had PFN was in this building, Plymouth Family Network. We'll end up combining those two programs. I think you may remember that Tris DeCiata retired at the end of last school year. We have Ms. Mello, who is retiring in the next month or so. And what we are proposing is that we are going to combine those two positions, and instead of having a director of two different programs, we'll have a principal that will run the Plymouth Early Childhood Center and Plymouth Family Network. And that would actually manage those two programs that are under the same roof and actually in the same hallway. So that is a proposal that we
Okay, now,
have
before you move on to any
Yes.
others, on that particular topic, any questions or discussions on that Dr. Maestas presented, combining and making a principal? Mr. Bagley.
Is it more cost effective?
It is more cost effective.
Good.
Absolutely.
Approved.
I knew it.
Yes.
Okay. Any other
And-
questions on this one?
Just
Okay.
one
Good.
follow-up to that. Assistant Superintendent Fry is working on the job description to reflect that change, and you will have it on the next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay. Next
So
change.
moving forward, we have slide 3, which is, or page 3. We'll move down to the Plymouth Early Childhood, if you move over to the the fourth column, we have Alternative Programs Director. We have Kevin Avitabile, we added him, so that's a change. And then if you move down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you have educational television director. Education television director used to be right next to Julia Colby, right above, and it would be to the right of Julia. And the interaction that Dan Riley has and this position has with central office is crucial. We meet with Dan and his team regularly, and we felt that it was a better alignment to have Dan Riley report to Mr. Campbell as he does already. Ms. Colby does have a number of staff that report to her, and he does a lot of meetings with us as, you know, to plan what we do with the educational television. So we thought it was a better fit to move him in that space opposed to the space that he was under Ms. Colby. I think it'll allow Ms. Colby to have a little more flexibility with her staff, Dr. Campbell, myself, Ms. Fry. Dr. Campbell's a primary, but we do all support that role.
Mrs. Burgess.
Yeah, so I see in around from him is 4 positions.
Yes.
Now, are those needing to be filled because of it?
No, those positions are support positions that do school committee, they do work in the schools, but those staff members report to Dan Riley, and they're not to be filled, they are existing positions.
Oh, okay.
And
I didn't know because of the dots around it that I...
Yeah, and
Like a subdivision of that department.
Oh, okay.
yeah, and keep in mind that the 5 positions you see there are all funded outside of the school budget, okay?
Yeah, okay.
Mr. Morgan.
Question on column 2, Plymouth South High School. I think we need to adjust for Mr. Hannah.
Yeah, it says Mr.
Yes.
We're aware of that.
Okay.
We are making that change. Okay. And also, if you could move back up, I forgot one item, and that's on slide 2. If you take a look under Assistant Superintendent for Administration and Instruction, you'll go down to the educational, hold on one second. It's the Career Vocational Technical Education Director. Okay? In the past job description, it was Career Vocational Technical Education Principal. And keep in mind that Department of Education has a number of requirements. Mr. Hanna had a principal license for vocational education, and Mrs. Sylvia has a director license. Under statute, we are able to function as long as we have a director in-house, and we thought we'd make it more relative to who we have in the position opposed to, we could put principal / or director, but that's, we thought we would reflect actually the license of the individual who's in the program today.
Any questions on that?
No.
Good.
And we're moving to the last slide, and this is just something that we're going to be changing. And if you take a look at Mary Mello, Director of Developmental Preschool, once Mrs. Mello has retired, we would change that to the new title that is indicated above. Okay?
Yes, thank you for that
Yep,
report.
and those
This is
would-
an action item to approve those recommendations. Mr. Bagley.
I'll make a motion to approve them as offered.
We have a motion to approve as presented, seconded by Mr. Morgan. Questions on the motion? Okay, the vote. As soon as it comes up.
Oh,
And everybody has voted in the affirmative. Thank you. This next item on our agenda is I want to report to the committee that when we had the presentation on Article 16 at our last meeting, the committee raised a few questions about the traffic circle that's being proposed and some safety concerns. And we tried to get a member of the town government or even the DPW here to help answer the questions. We couldn't get anybody scheduled for tonight's meeting, so we weren't able to do that. And I'm being told that we may have trouble getting somebody scheduled for our next meeting, so we may not really get a chance to talk about this
until November.
before it happens on town meeting floor.
Correct.
Yep. They're all involved with moving in town meeting.
Well, I don't know what they're involved in, but they couldn't make it here. Dr. Maestas?
Just keep in mind that we have a meeting on the 16th, and then town meeting's on the 21st, and then on the 24th, we have the joint meeting.
The joint meeting.
So the joint meeting of the school committee, board of selectmen, is after town meeting. So, the opportunity to ask a question would happen after the fact, after town meeting. So I think that's somewhat of a timing issue.
It is.
Okay?
I'm sorry.
Mr. Begley, go ahead.
Should we push back and tell them they need to get somebody here? Or make them available to meet with just you, or?
Well, I have to admit that that was an offer that was made, that perhaps I should have a phone call. But at that time, I wasn't completely up to speed on all the questions the committee had raised that night. I hadn't taken notes on everybody's questions, so I wouldn't be able to represent you well enough. So I suggested that rather than go through a meet of the committee, come to the committee, and that's when I got
That's
the note I
better,
couldn't come.
yeah.
That's better.
So,
But
if the committee feels that there are some questions that need to be answered that they can't present here, if you can get it to me in an email, I will then make myself available to have a phone conversation and report back here on the 16th if I can get answers to the questions. But I'll need the questions in writing from you folks so I can present them.
Because we have this as an action item, so we're not going to take any action.
Yeah, right.
Good. And if we don't take action, then article is really null and void. I mean, they won't be able to bring it to town meeting without us taking action beforehand.
I'm not clear on that.
We have to
Dr.
give them
Maestas.
permission to move the property.
I can answer the question. I believe that town meeting can vote to move the project forward, but the state will not allow it to move forward without the school committee's signature.
So it would be a motion that legal would not allow to come to the
Yeah.
floor of town meeting because it would be an illegal, it'd be circumventing the legal steps. It's
Yeah,
just
and-
like when they built the new town hall. The school department owned the lot that was behind the town hall. They couldn't do anything until we signed that over to them.
Hand it over. Mhm.
Absolutely.
And it's also Mount Pleasant and any other property over the years that have come, we have to sign it over first, and then they can take action.
Dr.
Yeah,
Maestas?
my only concern is that if information isn't brought forward before town meeting, the last thing I want to see happen is, somebody asks the opinion of the school committee, what do you want to do with it? Or what do you think about it? And you really haven't had an opportunity to really walk through your concerns. So that is my biggest concern at this point.
Or to even be part of the process.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a reach out to I'm assuming there was a reach out to the neighborhood and everything. I don't know that for a fact, but I do know there was no reach out to here. And
No.
And we brought up questions about safety concerns with the kids going through a roundabout. And they weren't, nobody asked us.
Yeah, and I did present the information that was, brought forward by the school committee, and
I read the statute on eminent domain, and this is a little bit different, I think, and now I'm not an attorney, obviously, a little bit different than the high school property at the town hall, the old high school property, because this is an easement within the 25-foot barrier, and the town can take that through eminent domain.
Yes, but that's for private property. That's not for so in that whole write-up, the eminent domain, the title is really misleading because that's for the property that's not owned by the town already. So the property that borders the school is owned by the town already, but it's under our care.
Right.
That eminent domain doesn't apply to that. That applies to the people where they're
I follow.
asking them
You're
to
right.
volunteer their property, and if they don't volunteer it, then they're going to take it.
It was unclear to me whether or not school committee action had to occur,
Yeah, I think.
but I'm listening.
And I do believe they state that in the write-up. They say that for the section that's at the school, under the school jurisdiction, it has to be signed over.
So why can't they find somebody to do it?
To come here and talk to us, yeah.
Well, you would think it's important enough
Enough for them
that they would find somebody to send here to talk to us about it,
Yeah.
but also to be part of the design. The thing that has me more miffed is that we're not part of the design process, And that's a really important intersection.
It was quite long before it was brought to us.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a done deal. Now it's just a rubber stamp sort of thing. And I just think it's important that we're not viewed as a rubber stamp.
I think
Shelby.
we just need some clarity, I think, for the safety component.
Right.
Students crossing the street in a roundabout, so it's pertinent that we have some more information so that we can make the best decision for the safety of the kids. And is there another option? It looks like this is drawn up, but is there another proposal for something else besides this that we could look at too? I mean, I just don't think we have enough clarity to make an informed decision.
I also think that, you know, in the same vein, I also think that having the selectmen's meeting with us right after town meeting instead of before about the property is not a good thing either. They haven't bothered with us. Go
Dr.
ahead.
Maestas.
I just want to follow up with that. The meeting on the 24th was for the purposes of the typical meeting and the students from Japan. I think it was thought that the only time to really have the conversation was that night, since everyone would be together. So that meeting was not really to talk about Article 16. It would just be an item that could be discussed on the 16th, because that's when everyone's together. It wasn't
On the
planned for that.
16th.
Excuse me,
The
Article
article
16 on the
numbers.
24th.
You know, I'm going to withdraw my offer, because as this conversation has gone on, it's become clear to me that this committee wants to have a discussion at this table at our next meeting. That's what I'm getting.
Yeah.
So I'm going to withdraw my offer to participate in a phone call and send word back to whomever we have to send word back to that we need somebody here to answer our questions.
That message will be delivered.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, we do.
So I'm going to move off this item, and we're going to talk about two policies from our policy committee. Who's presenting that?
I'll take it if you want.
Mr. Begley.
So we had two, transportation of students is the first one up, and the changes here are very minor. If you scroll all the way down to the bold, important statement, you'll see that we added a parent/guardian or authorized caregiver. And we also added the superintendent's office will work with the bus company to maintain clear procedural guidelines for student drop-off. So we had situations where the drivers were coming to a house and there was no parent or a caregiver, but there was somebody that they had already said, someone responsible, but the bus driver would not, per our policy, leave the child there. So it has to be set up ahead of time, and this wording allows us to do that.
We're open for discussion on this policy committee.
And that was it, yeah.
Are you moving it?
I think your changes are pertinent and excellent. I do want to ask a related question on 4.2. I'm going to go to 4.2.11. Possession of any illegal or dangerous or drug or weapon. I understand what we're trying to say there, and we certainly could leave it if we wanted to, but I thought if we reworded that phrase to be more inclusive of everything, possession of any prohibited and/or dangerous object, see student handbook and disciplinary code, or some language thereof. I'm trying to suggest that what you can't bring into the school, you can't bring on the bus. And so I was trying to have a term that would collect all of that, as opposed to listing those four items by themselves. I just throw that back to the policy committee next time you meet. If you think it's worth it, discuss it. If not, I'll take your recommendation.
No, it makes sense to me.
All right, so we'll all right, so we can approve we'll approve what we've been given here tonight, and if you want to bring another back another time, you can do that.
Or we could approve it with that
You want to just
modification.
accept that language right now?
Yeah.
Accept it, yeah.
Okay.
More efficient.
Motion?
Sorry, Ms.
Oh, I can make the motion
Go
if
ahead.
you want. I move that the policy 6.16, transportation of students reviewed by and recommendations made, the policy subcommittee be accepted and approved as amended today by the committee. Is that worded correctly?
As amended, as presented.
And amended by today's discussion.
Okay. Does that make sense to everybody? What
Yeah,
she's
has
rec-
somebody written it down?
Well, I can provide it, I can provide it. Oh, did you-
Nancy,
No.
look at Nancy,
Oh,
she's
she
doing
has
it.
it.
Do you have it? Do you want me to do it? Read?
Read?
You're good.
Okay.
Okay. See that? See that, Margie? You got it.
Let's go, got it.
Is there a second to that motion? Okay, Mr. Terselli's the second. Can we take that vote, please? And everybody's voted in favor. And now the travel expense, Mr. Bailey.
Bob, you want to take that one?
Sure. Few more changes than the last policy, but just some language cleanup. If you look on page 1 of 3, at the end of the page, we added, oh, wait a minute, this is student transportation. I got too many things opened up here. All right. Page 1.
Yeah.
In the middle, 1.1, we asked that must include itemized receipts versus submitting a P-card expense. So itemized original receipt was an addition. If you go to page 2, again, we go into the itemized receipts, 6.0. And also under 6.0, we have expenses, we added expenses being reimbursed to a staff member through a student activity account must not exceed $1,000 without prior approval from the school business administrator.
That's the recommendation of the policy subcommittee. Committee members?
There's another one.
There's one more.
One more, sorry.
On page 4, under 11.1, we added sales tax on items purchased as one of the items not to be reimbursed for.
Okay. Now we've heard the recommendation of the policy subcommittee. Is there a motion?
I'll move.
Burgess.
Yeah. I'll move that we, I don't, what's the number is it? I move that we approve policy number 13.5, travel expense and reimbursement as presented.
That's the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Morgan is the second. Any questions on the motion? Mrs. Hunt?
Is there a reason that the sales tax is not included? So if you had to buy a piece of equipment for your...
We're a tax exempt institution.
Oh, okay. All right, that makes sense.
Any other questions? Okay. Let's take the vote.
I just froze.
Whoop, went to fundraising.
Oh, yeah.
Boy,
It went to
Fundraisers.
that was, can you,
Didn't come
hold
up.
on one second.
Back up.
Fundraisers.
I'm lost. What happened?
It just
Yeah,
jumped
hold on
to
one
the
second.
right.
So we have to
you
take that
know
vote.
what? So we had Ms. Hunt
Yes.
moved it. Ms.
I
Burgess
moved
moved,
it.
and, sorry. Okay, and Ms.
Hunt
Hunt.
ask a question.
Okay, and who was the
Morgan.
We
second?
need an oral vote, is what you're saying?
Yeah, hold on, no, we can do it.
Okay.
Give me one
okay.
second.
I'm
Yeah.
patient.
There we go.
There it is.
Oh,
Got
there.
it.
I got click happy.
All right. Everybody voted in favor. Thank you, everybody.
Now you can-
Now fundraisers. Any conversation about current fundraisers from anybody? Okay. Mr. Bagley? Nope. Yes,
No,
maybe so?
I'll ask Chris later.
Okay. Reports and proposals from committee members. Mrs. Hunt, Ms. Hunt.
I have one invitation, I guess, and maybe Dr. Maestas has a little bit more information. On October 11th at Plymouth South High School Auditorium from 5:30 to 7:30, Mass PTA is hosting in conjunction with Carolyn Rains, our health educator,
a concussion workshop clinic. So I wanted to just make sure everybody was invited. I haven't seen a formal invitation from the group, which should have gone to you. So it's the 11th from 5:30 to 7:30 at Plymouth South High School. It's Linda Brown from the Department of Public Health, Kathy Thornton from South Coast, Dr. Nate Cook from Harvard Medical School Sports Concussion Clinic. And it's going to be an educational workshop for parents, educators, school nurses, and the community. All are invited to come learn about concussion safety. And then other than that, I just wanted to mention, the only thing that I have to report that I attended was the a cappella event last Friday night. It was Plymouth North and Plymouth South. Amazing performances by both schools, and then they had a special guest from Los Angeles called Impact, which blew me away. Absolutely phenomenal. It was the best. I think all I kept thinking to myself is we charged way too little to be here.
Yeah.
Because it was $5. So that's all that I could think of, is we really should have paid like at least $20 to be there. But it was pretty amazing, and I think it was an amazing opportunity because the members of this group, I believe they said they toured with Backstreet Boys and Natasha Benefield and all of these famous groups, and these performers actually got to stay with some of the students, and I'm sure that they had a lot of conversations on their future. And one of the things that one of the members said was, how cool is it? When I went to high school, we didn't have opportunities like this, and look where I am. So imagine what you are going to be like in 20 years because you do have this opportunity. So it was just a great testament to our program. And that's it for me.
Mrs. Burgess.
Yeah, well, he kind of took the thunder anyway.
I'm sorry. Sorry, Marge.
That's okay. But Lee and I attended the South Middle School, no, South Elementary field that Makepeace provided.
Ribbon cutting.
And it was a great day. It was wonderful out there, as he said, and
That's great.
so anyway, that was good. And then tonight, I went to the opening of the bank at South High School. And so it was good to have that bank come into our school again, yeah. So that was great. And there was something else I did, but I can't remember what it
You were
was.
at the Northern,
Yes, I was in at the Northern Lights performance too. So, and it was great. It was the best performance I'd heard, even with the students. I was very, very taken, because I was getting kind of tired of Northern Lights in a way. I heard them but actually, they were very good
and the
that
South,
night.
the
So
South
I
group
had to
is
renew my,
amazingly different than last year. Amazing, the South
I mean,
group.
it was just,
Yeah, you'll see that.
they just did so much better. I mean, they renewed my energy to go see them more.
I regret not being able to go because I've heard our students sing in different venues, and I see that confidence building and building.
Yeah.
And they're, the middle school programs are really helping to support that. So, and you start seeing these kids are just really talented, and that's not to say that they haven't been there before. It's just I think the programming is allowing these kids to feel really confident and be able to go out there and sing.
That's why I'm so glad we do have the visual and performing arts director, because it brings everything up.
Yeah.
It makes the programs in the high school much better, because they
working.
get a
It's
start.
working.
Yeah, it's working.
Yeah.
Very good, very good.
Mrs. Trisselli, you want anything about the ribbon cutting?
It was fantastic. It was just so nice to see the kids so happy.
Yeah.
The field is beautiful. I just
Yeah,
think
and all
it's
the
a great
shaking
amenity.
hand, did they do that with you?
They did, yeah. They came up and
all
they
came up.
thanked us and-
I said, because they were all shaking hands with me, and I said afterwards, I should have done high fives. Like, why would they?
Panther was a big
Huh?
hit, too. The mascot was a big hit.
Yeah, oh, the mascot,
It
yeah.
was just
The only
really
thing is he stayed in the back of the field, and it made Brody all
Yeah.
upset
That made it-
because he never came around, but finally at the end he did, so I hustled him up and got him a big hug before some of the other
Brody's the
kids.
school committee mascot now.
So he got a big hug.
It's great to see him.
Marley has passed her torch.
Any other reports and proposals?
I just want to kind of
Go ahead.
pair off from what Kim had mentioned with the concussion workshop. I wish there was a little bit more insight to that, an invitation, because there's a lot of, I think, concern from parents and advocates for their kids, for concern with concussions and head injuries, and I think it's a really important workshop for parents to attend. I know the pediatricians offer, for parents who have kids that play contact sports, a screening, I believe it's called an impact screening, where they can offer a baseline through motor skills for kids. So if they do have any type of injury, they have a baseline to go off of. And I have friends and parents that are doing this with their young kids who are playing contact sports. So I just think it's a really good public service we're offering, and I look forward to going, for
Hopefully
sure.
there's
How
gonna
are they
be
going to
more-
advertise it?
Hopefully there's going to be more information coming out. I know this
Well,
was.
I mean,
pretty
October
late.
11th is next week, so
It's next week,
I'm going to
that's
spread the word
terrible.
for sure, because I think it's
Yeah.
great. I think it's really good.
Jim, Dr. Sorensen, Dr.
Chris.
Carolyn Rains has been instrumental in setting up this, and we communicate all the time. So we certainly can advertise that and get the word out to our families and to our staff as well for that evening. We actually have Dr. Nathan Cook, who is part of that presentation, speaking. He's doing a couple of workshops on October 6th, this Friday, when we do our full-day professional development. So we have him in. I had the pleasure of meeting with him about a week and a half ago to look at other partnerships that we can do with him and his department. He's affiliated with Children's, Harvard University. He's done a lot of work
Right.
around this, not only concussions, but concussions and return to school. That's not necessarily play, but return to school as well. So he's a brilliant researcher who's seen a lot. So we're very fortunate, and Mrs. Rains has been, our Director of Health Services, has been instrumental in bringing that resource to us. So we certainly can advertise that thoroughly, and especially as it comes up sooner, keep it at the forefront of everyone's mind in the coming week and a half
Need
or
to do a
so.
hall call.
Yep, we will. We can do.
Yeah.
We can do.
Email reminder. It's
call.
just- it's
Sometimes
great.
the
Where-
email piece works well too, because people have it and
Where
We'll
at
refer
Plymouth
to it.
South
they
is
don't
it?
hang up.
Auditorium.
Oh, it is in the auditorium.
I even think for parents who don't have kids that may play contact sports who ski, or, you know what I mean?
Doesn't
It
even-
expands the scope
Yeah.
of just playing sports, so I think
Yep.
we all
It-
have concerns
It
for
really does go
injury.
beyond sports.
Yeah, it really needs to.
My kids have had baselines even before sports, but it's particularly when they're playing contact sports, it's really important. But we've had students who have had concussions outside of school, not participating in sports. The young ones typically, accidents happen. We've heard some interesting stories. So it's important to have that baseline that you talk about. We do that as an athletic.
high school.
Yeah, we do that every 2 years. So that is something that we, update through their high school career, but it's important for parents to have that information as well. So you know where your child is lying, so in the event of a head injury, you can go in and look for that comparison to see if there's been any kind of impairment to vision, the sensory system, mobility, whatever it may be.
It's so pertinent. I was very upset with one sentence. This is the National School Board Journal. I was very upset with one sentence in this article about football injuries, and it said, and I'm reading it to you, it says, "The reality is there is no hard evidence that high school football is inherently dangerous." And there is so much neurological science to say that's not accurate. So I'm so glad we're having a workshop to counter ridiculous statements like that in a national journal.
Cheerleading's worse.
Yeah, well, yeah, they're all bad.
They say it's one of the more dangerous sports is cheerleading for concussions.
Okay, reports and proposals.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to move off that item then. Thank you, Margie. What is next?
PYDC.
PYDC, thank you. Their report.
Yes, it's been, our next meeting is a week from Friday,
Yeah. So that's what date?
the 13th, I believe. But there hasn't been a meeting since.
Okay. Building Committee, Mrs. Burgess and I attended the Building Committee last Thursday. Mrs. Burgess has the report.
Okay. They said on Plymouth South High School that the punch list is 80% complete. They're still working on it. That the road should be open by mid-December. And I see there's, like when I came in tonight, not only can you see, there's still half a building or more there, but anyway, I see that the road, it's been flattened out for the road. That's good, so
Very good.
it's moving on. So they've stopped taking the building down in order to get the road done?
Nope, they're still working.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, simultaneously.
Okay. And the old wastewater treatment plant is gone, and it's going to be, what is it, for storage and maintenance? I don't,
There's a building in the back, it's a green building.
Yeah.
That used to be part of that wastewater
Waiter,
treatment.
yeah.
And that will be used for some storage.
oh, for storage and equipment, yeah,
Yes.
that's right. I didn't write it well, that's what my big thing is. And that's really what I had on the school. Is there anything else to add on that?
No, I think, we're
The only-
continuing to get everything worked out. and-
Yeah, I'm hoping that they finally get the handicap button working on the front door. That would be nice. I keep trying it, but it still doesn't work. Okay, and on the...
Before we move,
Okay, go ahead.
The contingency is healthy at this point, so that's an
That-
important
Oh,
number.
yeah, that is an
Oh, it is
important thing,
important.
yes.
And, to Dr.
Finances.
Sorensen, to that point, it's very important because it really fits with our model of the lights and the turf and all that whole piece that we presented at the April town meeting. And there was concern about, are we going to have that contingency? The building is almost down, really no surprises in the demolition, which is great. And that's some of the concern that people had at the time is, will that contingency be there? And absolutely, it does look like it is on target.
Yeah, good.
Thank you.
Good, thanks. And then on the Sims House, they've done the final sign-off. There's a few punch list items that are being finished up. But, of course, the big thing is whether it'll get through town meeting, that they're going to be able to change the zoning. And so they have, the management contract has a thing so that they can back out if it doesn't. And then the town will have to decide what they're going to do with that building. So, in the new town hall, they're moving into it Halloween day.
Halloween weekend. The
Weekend,
before
all right. That's what they're moving in. So so they've held it off until after town meeting, and then they're moving on that. That's why I said they have no time for us, because that's all they're focused on. And anyway, so, wait a minute. So they said that the historic stair still hasn't been done. It's, all this time we've been talking about that historic marble staircase, and it's not going to be done. It's for another 2 weeks. And, but anyway, the carpeting and tile flooring and elevator and all, that's all completed. And they're nearing completion on all the finishes and casework and trim, so it's coming along, and so they're going to be working now just mostly on punch list things and training and access cards and that sort of thing.
Margie, just let me back up a minute on the town hall. In the defense of the crew there, the tour that I was in the building not too long ago, those marble pieces are very labor-intensive. Each piece has to be cut and placed and adjusted, so that's why it's a very slow
okay,
process.
that's
They're
why-
doing the whole landing and the steps down with all the marble from the other buildings. So-
Okay. Yeah, I've heard from the beginning about it, so it just seems like they would have been further with it, that's all. But no, if it's that intensive. And then the salt sheds, the subcontract bids were 2 today. They're due on 10/5. The parking deck is, they're due from the contractors on 10, wait a minute, Russell T, 10/5, same thing. North Plymouth Fire Station, they've negotiated with Pomeroy for the OPM. A maritime facility, they have no funding yet, but the architect has specs. Lincoln Street,
You can skip over that one.
Main Street Extension Parking Garage, there's 3 designers that are under review. And our next meeting will be October 12 at the Plymouth South High School Library. That was interesting. So, yeah, that's good.
Dr. Maestas, one of the items that came up, there were 5 or 6 change orders
Yeah.
that are going through the motion right now for South, and one of them is the infrastructure for the solar panels in the parking lot and the lights.
Yep.
And the reason why I bring that up, and I brought it up at the meeting of the night, because this is the article on town meeting floor. And from what I understand, that the infrastructure will be done and in place, because this question may come up at town meeting.
Yeah.
Whether or not there's an additional cost to bringing this stuff in. What I'm being told is it's all set.
Yes, so what we were able to
It was
do
all the-
is run all of the infrastructure, meaning conduit
Yep.
and things of that nature that are
Yes.
running under the parking lot, so there would be no disruption. So that is in place, that was done through pre-planning of solar fields, excuse me, the canopies, and that is done. So it would suit us nicely if everything moves forward, that we wouldn't have to tear up parking lots, medians, anything like that.
Okay, that's why I make that clear. Thank you.
Mhm.
Does that conclude your report, Mrs. Burgess?
Yes.
Thank you. Any questions for the building committee? Okay. Where are we? Personnel. Thank you.
Yes, we have, tonight, we've had 1 certificated appointment. We've had 27 coach and advisor appointments, 3 classified appointments. We have 4 leaves of absences, which include maternity, and 7 resignations.
Okay, thank you. Home and school plans, Dr. Maestas?
Yes, tonight we have 6 home school plans that have been reviewed by Dr. Halpin's office, and I recommend approval of these plans as they have met all requirements set forth by the committee.
You've heard the recommendation, committee? Floor is open.
I'll move that we accept the plans as offered.
We have a motion by Mr. Begley to accept the plans as presented, a second by Mrs. Burgess. And now we can vote.
Did you find it?
I was in there, but then,
Yeah, there you go.
Here we go.
sorry.
That's all right.
Not you, it's the seat. That's unanimous. Accounts payable, Ms. Hunt.
Okay. Whereas school committee members have been provided with a copy of the cost center transaction summary report and the warrants for review, I move that the Plymouth School Committee accept and approve the report and accounts payable warrant number S100517 dated October 5th, 2017, in the amount of $533,000,
Million.
sorry,
No,
No.
1,000, I'm sorry, 1,000, yeah.
that's a lot.
Yeah, this is.
$533,015.49 as presented.
It was the comma after the
Yeah,
49.
but
that
I
threw
wasn't
me.
even cut off this
Yeah.
time.
You heard the motion? Is there a second? Mr. Selly is the second. Question to the motion? All those in favor? Time to vote.
Okay, come on, Nick.
It's unanimous, thank you. Minutes. Okay, we have the minutes of August the 7th. Ms. Hunt,
I move to accept the minutes from August 7th.
we have a motion to accept the minutes of August the 7th, rather. Mrs. Burgess is the second. Any questions on the minutes? Okay, let's take the vote.
Give me 1 second. I'm 1 second behind, and we're ready to go.
1 second behind.
Mhm.
There.
There are 2 abstentions, the rest voting in favor. And now the minutes of August the 19th.
Ms. Hunt?
I'll move to accept the minutes from August 19th as written.
Is there a second? Mr. Morgan is the second. Is there a question? Let's take the vote.
Okay.
There's one abstention, everybody else in favor. Obsolete equipment, Dr. Maestas?
Yes, tonight we have obsolete equipment from Fellow Furnace Elementary School. It's a shredder, and it is broken and cannot be repaired, and I recommend approval of this item for disposal.
You've heard the recommendation.
I'll
Ms.
move that
Burgess
we-
moves the
yeah.
recommendation, and it's seconded by Mr. Bagley. Question? Okay, let's vote. And that is unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Is there any other business to come before the committee? Mr. Bagley?
I have one question I forgot to bring up before. Where do we stand on town meeting? Is it going to be at South High?
No, it's at North.
North.
Yeah, but we'll work on the Springtown meeting at South.
South.
And then we have the meeting at 7:30 or something before the,
Typically, yes, it'll be at the cafeteria at North High School.
because we have a meeting before then anyway.
Yes, we do.
Yeah,
Yes.
so, sorry.
Any other business to come before the committee? Okay, we stand adjourned. Thank you very much.